Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day. Excuse me. We had no Thursday show because obviously Darren was 40 on Thursday, so we said we'd take a break. But here is your Premier League predictions for this weekend, week 13. A massive week in the Premier League title race and in the relegation battle as well. So many permutations here. Teams trying to solidify top four credentials. Liverpool trying to solidify that title race against Man City. But we'll get into it first of all. Obviously Brighton and Southampton 1-1 last night. Not a great result for either team. Southampton would have found it tough obviously going to Brighton. Brighton obviously looking to keep their run going in the Premier League at the moment. Up to the dizzy heights of second now with that point off that draw just above Man City. Phenomenal from Fabian Hürzeler this season without a doubt. But probably would have expected a lot more out of that Southampton game and would be disappointed with only getting a point. Southampton likewise probably would have found it tough going to the Amex, but again they will take a point, but doesn't really help their situation rooted to the bottom of the table at the moment. Brentford versus Leicester. Ruud van Nistelrooy appointed Leicester manager. I think this is one of these situations where I don't think you're going to get a new manager bounce. I'm looking at that Leicester side and they just look tired and they look jaded and they look, I don't know, they look a little bit worn out. Maybe that's the effect that Stevie Cooper had on them. I'm not too sure and stuff like that. But going to Brentford, always a tough place to go as well. Brentford looking to, put more points on the board and stuff like that. Leicester could potentially drop into the bottom three this weekend. All I can see here is a Brentford win. Probably in a tight game, but probably a Brentford win, probably 2-1. Palace versus Newcastle. Big opportunity for Palace here at the moment. Newcastle, what's going on there at the moment? Absolutely poor the other night against West Ham, getting beaten 2-0 I think it was. Really, really, really poor at home at St James's. Can't seem to string form together at the moment, be it at home or away. Selhurst Park, a tough place to go and stuff like that. Crystal Palace starting to find a little bit of form that was badly needed, struggling as well down the bottom of the table and stuff like that. I think this is going to be a Palace win. I think it's going to heap more pressure on Eddie Howe. I think with Newcastle at the moment it's a little bit indifferent. I think you're not sure what you're going to get. St James's should be a fortress, but it hasn't been. And the results on the road as well have been a little bit questionable as well. I think if you look at Newcastle at the moment, their issues are kind of at the back. They just lack that bit of quality there, that stability in that back four. Botman being injured, just Dan Burn in there as well, just doesn't look like the level at all. And I think there's something in Palace for this, and I think Palace could shade this 2-1 as well. Next up, Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. Both teams have been in good form recently. You look at Ipswich and you think maybe they should have more points on the board. They have played well in games where they haven't got their just desserts, if you like. But a big win against Spurs, if you can remember, 2-0 and stuff like that. Forest again have been on a really, really good run, but poor result against Arsenal at the Emirates, and going to the Emirates is a very tough place to go, even if you're playing well as Nottingham Forest did. And players coming back off the international break as well, Chris Wood and all, not really being available for them, stuff like that. He's been their talisman up front. Iwoni hasn't hit anywhere near the levels of last season. But this could be an interesting one for Forest. This is a good one for Forest to bounce back as well. I think this is going to be a really good game of football. I think you're going to look at two footballing sides going out there. Plenty could happen in this game, but I think Forest might shade this 3-2. But I think we could be looking at one of the games of the weekend with Forest and Ipswich. Wolves versus Bournemouth. Again, another one. Gary O'Neill starting to find form now, starting to find that rhythm in his team. It was only a few short weeks ago they were trying to crowbar him out the door. But he's come back from the edge of the cliff, as they say, with a couple of real good results and stuff like that. And I think he can kick on as well now. Ryan, who does be in our chat on the Thursday shows and stuff, has said he's starting to see Gary O'Neill actually put players in positions now where he expected them to be. So maybe they found that shape, form or pattern that they want to play. Bournemouth again, always a tough side. I think there's going to be a 2-2 draw. But again, another good game of football to focus on. I know we're absolutely spoilt on the Sunday side of things, but I think don't sleep on the Saturday games. I think they're going to be really, really good. And then the evening game, West Ham hosting Arsenal. Always an interesting game. West Ham coming in off the back of a real good win, 2-0 against Newcastle up at St James's, hosting Arsenal today in the evening kick-off. This is going to be a tough game for West Ham. Arsenal have kind of turned it around a little bit. They've got players back in. Timber looking sensational. Odegaard, as we know, is absolutely fantastic in the midfield. Although some Arsenal fans will tell us different and stuff like that, but you can see the difference in that boy when he's playing. There's no doubt about how good Arsenal are with him in the midfield. I think Arsenal might just shade this. I think 2-1. I think it'll be a tough game. I think if Lopetegui, he's kind of teetering on the brink as well. A lot of West Ham fans not happy with the way this season has gone at all, and rightly so. But I think West Ham will make this interesting, but I think Arsenal will probably grind out a 2-1. That's what I'm thinking. Now we get into the Sunday, December the 1st, the beginning of a month where I think most teams have 9 games this month, especially if you're involved in Europe. A big schedule for December, and we kick it off with no less Chelsea at the Bridge versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa very good in Europe this season, but flattering to deceive in the league. Kind of trying to find that balance a little bit difficult. Emery trying things a little bit different, a little bit out of the box that he wouldn't normally try, moving goalposts around a little bit and stuff like that. Not the Emery way that we would expect, but obviously with a squad that's not really built for both Champions League and League. He's having to juggle a few balls there, of course. Going to the Bridge, this could be an interesting game. Chelsea obviously in a little bit of form as well, starting to find it under Maresca. Maresca starting to find that kind of player, kind of pattern and setup and formation that he wants to play. The interesting one will be in this one is Aston Villa. If you think of them as a top 5, top 6 side, which is I think a fair assessment, I think these are the teams that Chelsea have kind of struggled against a little bit, namely Cole Palmer in terms of stepping up in these big games and stuff like that. Now Villa should be a game that he should be able to step up in. We know Villa have a lot of really good players there as well. Morgan Rogers has been really good. We know how good Ollie Watkins is. McGinn, a lot of these players can go in there and do a really good job. I think Chelsea win this one, and I think it heaps pressure on Aston Villa in terms of their top 4 credentials, and I also think it solidifies Chelsea as being right deep in a top 4 race, putting a bit of space in the wing mirror there with other teams. I think this is a win for Chelsea. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be 2-1, but I think clearly the form of Palmer in this game is stuff that he can't afford this game to pass him by. A lot of questions over him when he steps up into the bigger games, and this is a big game. Don't sleep on it because of the other fixtures. Chelsea 2-1, I think. More pressure on Emery, trying to find that balance between Europe and the Premier League. Man United versus Everton. Amran has come in. We can see kind of little green shoots of what he's trying to do and stuff like that, but in truth, the quality just isn't there in that Man United squad when you step out of the first 11. It's kind of struggles, flatters to deceive and stuff like that. Yes, it was a good win the other nights against Bodo Glimt, but everything has to be taken in context. The manager's only new in the door as well, so we can see he's really trying to put down a stamp in terms of what he wants to do. There's going to be an adjustment from the players, as you would expect. Everton coming into town, into Old Trafford, always kind of make life a little bit difficult. Everton are just a pragmatic kind of Sean Dyche kind of team, aren't they? But they do have that sprinkling of quality in there that can punish you if you're not on it on the day. The Dwight McNeils of this world, Calvert-Lewins of this world can do the business when called upon, if needed, if they're allowed to express themselves. I think Sean Dyche will set up here to dig in again. Again, Everton teetering around that relegation area as well. They need to be really careful. I think Man United get over the line here 2-1. I think it's going to be a little this isn't going to be a game for the watchers, if you like, you know what I mean. I think this will just be a tough, dogged game of football, and Man United are going to have to be up for the fight. Bruno Fernandes is going to be key here. He's the guy who likes getting down into the trenches, not like a lot of the other players. Mazraoui, who's been absolutely phenomenal this season, arguably United's best player, possibly behind Onana, who's had a massive jump in form and stuff like that. The boy Hoyland scored a cracker the other night as well. He could be the key in this and all. I don't think you'll see, you know, the Amads and the Garnachos getting what they want in this game, because Everton will just kick lumps out of them, to be honest. But I see United getting over the line here 2-1. Heaping pressure on Dyche down at the bottom of the table, and United keeping up their form in terms of putting wins on the board and stuff like that. So Man United win 2-1. Spurs versus Fulham. Again, an interesting one. You look at Spurs, absolutely phenomenal. Dropped a little of a clanger there during the midweek and could have been beaten. They were well in control, and then Roma took over control of the game and they kind of went back into their box. But which Spurs are we going to get? We're at the new White Hart Lane. It's Fulham stepping up. I think Spurs will probably win this. I think they'll keep their run going somewhat. I think Fulham, who have been really, really good, but more at Craven Cottage. But I think playing against Spurs in a bigger environment, a bigger stadium and stuff like that, I think it might stretch Fulham a little bit. I expect a Spurs win here, but I expect goals in this game from both sides, and I think it'll be 3-2 Spurs. And then we round out with the Super Sunday. This is a Super Sunday, fitting of a Super Sunday at Anfield, 4 o'clock. Liverpool versus Man City, top of the table clash. Some say title eliminator, some say title kind of cementer, if you like, and stuff like that. Could potentially the gap be 11 points come Sunday evening? Who knows? Obviously Konate and Conor Bradley. Konate now going to be out for 5 to 6 weeks. This is the price we pay for the Real Madrid game. What was that Endrick boy doing? What an absolute clown. But we lose Konate, but we have Jarell Quansah there. We have Joe Gomez there as well, so we've plenty to fill the void. Obviously Van Dijk has been exceptional. The real question coming out of this, does Kelleher maintain his place between the sticks, or does Alisson come back in here now? Hopefully Quivine maintains it and stuff like that. No disrespect to Alisson, but I think Quivine's been phenomenal, and I think he deserves at least to play in a game of this magnitude. This is massive. The rivals will want City to win, of course. The gap would then be 5 points, and then all this talk about how good we've been and how bad City have been will get washed away, because 5 points is literally nothing at this stage in the season and stuff like that. I'm gonna go for a Liverpool 3-1 win. I think City at the moment at the back are a little bit tender. They're like a wounded animal, and I think we can take a lot of advantage of that. I think probably with Konate going out is why I give City a goal. They've been very poor up front at the moment. Foden, a shadow of the player he's been. Haaland will always get you goals, but again his form has been indifferent, and the wings literally offer you nothing. Bernardo Silva not pitching in at all. Doku not pitching in at all. Grealish not pitching in at all. Real struggles at the moment where you're looking for your wing play. And yeah, that rounds it out. So 3-1 to Liverpool. 11 points potentially could be the gap between ourselves and City. And that could be a huge advantage as well. If you're looking at the rest of the league, the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea could take advantage. And I think looking at the maths on this, I think Man City, if they get beaten and the other results go the way we think, Man City could be down to 4th or 5th by the end of this weekend, which would be absolutely crazy. But we know how good City can be, and we know they can bounce back at any moment. This form and this run can't continue forever, but we know Anfield hasn't been a happy hunting ground for Man City. So expect the Reds to come through, stay top of the table, extend that gap, which would be absolutely phenomenal. And we'll talk again real soon, folks. Drop your predictions into the comments. Let us know what you think. How is the Super Sunday going to go? Can Amarin continue his form? Can Emre find a way to get past Maresca? Plus everything else that's going on there at the moment. As always, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and drop a like on the video. Talk to you again real soon. Cheers.